In this video, we are going to be talking about how to answer the question, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses. What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Afzal Hussain. You can find out a bit more about me through the social media links below, or you can check out my website, which is www.afzalhussain.com. In today's video, we are going to be answering the question, or talking about how to answer the question, tell me about your strengths and your weaknesses, because this question often comes up in many interviews and oftentimes students and candidates don't know how to answer it. First and foremost, this question is one, testing your self-awareness, which is very important. Companies want to hire people who are self-aware, because self-awareness tells a lot about an individual and how they tend to work and operate within a working environment. Secondly, it tests your confidence/arrogance. And by saying that, I mean, oftentimes you might get candidates who just say they've got lots of strengths and they have no weaknesses, or vice versa, and that can tell how confident an individual is in themselves / how arrogant they may be. It's a good interview question because when you're asking it to a candidate, you can easily tell if they are lying, but it's also good because it puts them under pressure. Oftentimes candidates don't expect it, and oftentimes they aren't well prepared, and so you kind of catch them off guard, which is nice from an interviewer's perspective. But if you're a candidate and you've prepared well for it, hopefully this video will help you do that. You will be able to impress the interviewer regardless. Okay, so when they ask you, tell me about your strengths and weaknesses, you should come up with 2 or 3 strengths that you're going to list, and it's very important. You don't just list any strengths like, oh, I'm a fun person to talk to, I am very talkative, I'm very sociable, I'm very healthy and fit. All these random strengths, they're great, but you need to immediately think strengths relating to the role. So an easy cheat is looking at the job description of the role you've applied to and see what strengths or what key competencies that they look for in candidates who they want to hire for that role. So key strengths for you to mention will typically be, attention to detail, or analytical skills, or leadership skills, or teamwork. Depending on the firm's culture, focus on 2 to 3 that are very important to the organization's culture and philosophy. Now, it's easy to just list your 2 to 3 strengths, but what you need to do is back it up with examples. So you can say, one of my key strengths is my attention to detail. An example of when I displayed this, or how I've developed this, is blah, 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 blah. It goes basically onto answering a competency-based question. So you use the STAR technique. I've done a video on that, make sure you check it out if you don't know what the STAR technique is. So each strength you list, you should give an example of proof that says, yes, you've developed that strength to a certain level. Now, you don't want your answer to be too long, just keep it short and to the point, but make sure you back it up with examples. Weaknesses. You don't want to be that student or that applicant who says, I can't think of any weaknesses that I have. I don't have any weaknesses. I'm perfect. You don't want to be that person, because immediately you will fail that question, and also the person interviewing you will probably judge you. So it's important to make sure you have 1 or 2 weaknesses. I would say personally, what I used to use was 1. I'd say one of my key weaknesses was, so not is, this is very important. You don't say my weakness is, you can say my weakness was working for too long. So working continuously without taking a break. And this is the important bit. You can state your weakness, but it's very important to make sure you explain to them, this was a weakness, but now I've overcome it and it's no longer a weakness. So I used to say, throughout my studies, I used to work continuously for long periods of time, and as a result, my productivity tended to decline. However, I realized that it was more efficient to take breaks every hour or so, and once I implemented that into my working schedule, I realized I was more productive. This was a weakness that I had. However, as a result of tweaking the way I work, and as a result of learning from my weakness, I've managed to implement it into the different types of work that I do, blah, 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 blah. So it's very important to state your weakness, but give an example of how you overcame it, changed it, for the better. That's very important. A large part of an interview is based on likability. If the person builds, or if you build a rapport with that individual, you both click, you both feel like, yeah, I would get on with this person if I sat next to them. That's most of the interview one. You know, the technicals, the knowledge, the CV, all of that, you should know your stuff. You should have, you know, decent grades. You should show relevant or strong work experience. But when you go into the interview, it really is based on your relationship with the person. So don't come across too arrogant. Be humble. Be yourself, more importantly. It's okay to be nervous. Nerves are actually expected. It's weird if you're not nervous. And yeah, always ask for a glass of water so you can sip it and buy yourself a few seconds to think when answering a question. If you found this video useful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you are subscribed to the channel, make sure you turn on the bell wherever it is so you get notified every time I do an upload. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and leave any comments and suggestions or questions in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video next week. Peace.